Well, welcome back to another day of Bible study. My name is Kevin Young. I have the privilege of serving as lead clergy at Christ Table. If you'd like to know more about us, who we are, what we do, then that's really simple. All you got to do is go to the URL that is right there, www.christstable.today. We are primarily dedicated towards those who are disconnected, disillusioned, done with the church, people who identify as none. But many people, perhaps you're one of them, use us as a secondary spiritual resource in addition to their local church, and we don't mind that at all. If you would like to know more about this Bible study, then you can visit the URL right there, go.christstable.today/journey. There are a couple of items there that you can pick up for free. There is a study guide that allows you to see each and every day of the readings and what day they fall on, so you'll be able to keep up with us. There's also a PDF resource that you can download to walk you along each and every day of the study as we walk through the Gospel of Mark. It's absolutely free, no email needed, no strings attached. If you would like to donate to Christ Table, you can do that at our website, or right here at this URL, you can get a printed copy bound of that study guide. That helps us whenever you get those. You don't need to feel like you have to do that, but if you'd like one, you can pick one up there as part of a box of resources that go along with this study. And all the information is there for that. If that sounds helpful to you, or if you'd like to help us financially, then that's the way to do so. Now, we're going through this Bible study in a journey that is called Lectio Divina. It's a very ancient practice. If you'd like to know more about Lectio Divina, how to do it, you can Google right there the words Lectio Divina. It will bring up all the information that you need. Lots and lots and lots of websites will help you walk through this process of doing this sort of Bible study, or right down there at that URL, go.christstable.today/journey. Our downloadable study guide walks you through Lectio Divina and will give you resources each and every day to help you practice that as a part of your journey through the Gospel of Mark. Today, on day 21, we find ourselves coming towards the end, throttling at high speed, fifth gear, towards the end of the Gospel of Mark. We are in chapter 14, the first 42 verses, because this is a relatively long chapter in the Gospel of Mark. And so we've split it up into two, but this is kind of the meat of the story. Everything has been working towards this part of the Gospel of Mark. We're close to Holy Week if you're watching this in real time, and we are in Holy Week now in the Gospel of Mark. And so if you've read this passage, then you know this passage kind of centers around Jesus and Judas and the betrayal. That was a blindside to a lot of people, right? That somebody who was in the inner circle could betray Jesus. It's been compelling to me over the years as I have contemplated these texts, whether or not I could have betrayed Jesus like Judas did. I think lots of people, Peter himself most notably, said that he would never do it. And if there were anybody who wouldn't betray Jesus, who wouldn't deny him, you think that Peter would be that guy. And yet, Peter does. We read about that in today's passage. So I don't know that any of us, myself included, are exempt from being the person who's holding the knife or Judas's kiss. I don't think that anybody gets off or out of this life without betrayal, without denial of Jesus. It's part of the condition that we all find ourselves in sin, right? We are broken people doing our best to make our way through this life. Yes, the Spirit, God, helps us navigate this life in ways that are perhaps better, hopefully, than doing it on our own. But yet, even at our best, on our best days, oftentimes we are still self-centered, self-righteous, self-directed, and not very selfless. One of the things that stood out to me in this passage is verse 10, where it says that Judas Iscariot, one of the 12 disciples, went to the leading priest to arrange to betray Jesus to them. They were delighted when they heard why he had come, and they promised to give him money. Now, Mark doesn't make this quite as clear as many of the other Gospels do, but Judas seems to have been motivated by money. In fact, John, I believe it is the one who points out that Judas was actually taking money off the top, that he was utilizing money out of it for himself in an unethical way. Neither here nor there. To the point that I found in this is that we all have a price at which we can be bought. Maybe it's not money that motivates you. Maybe it is something else that motivates you and would motivate you to look the other way on something in your faith, to do something that you might not ordinarily or otherwise do. I think it's important for us, at least utilizing Lectio Divina, it was important for me to stand in Judas's shoes. It's important for me to feel the betrayal firsthand, as though I was the one who was dipping the bread, as though I was the one who was doing the betraying, as though I was the one who was delivering the kiss. Because I'm certain that there have been those moments where I have betrayed Jesus, where I was out of my right mind, and I may not even still yet today be able to identify when those moments and when those times were, but I have. And because I might not, or you might not be able to remember any firsthand, doesn't mean that it hasn't happened. They promised to give him money. I see this happen in churches, in religious contexts, among followers of Jesus Christ a lot, where a promise of something that is desirable ends up leading people to do things that they would not normally otherwise do in their right mind, that they justify it, that they explain it away. I'm going to do this small thing that isn't right because I need this money, or I need this thing to do something that is right. The good outweighs the bad. The positive benefit overshadows the small problem ethically or morally with what I'm about to do. And then we sacrifice our integrity on the altar of something that denies the Jesus within us, betrays who we are as Christians or as individuals. I see that a lot in churches. I don't always see that in me, which, as we've said, doesn't mean it isn't there. It just means that sometimes it's the most difficult to see in ourselves. So that's one of the things that kind of rose out of this passage to me, was my needfulness personally of being aware of those moments in which I may be denying or betraying Jesus in the same way or in the same fashion as Judas did. So Jesus is now in the meal, the Last Supper. Many of you will understand the communion and the significance of this meal to Christians, and previously as well to Judaism. This was a Jewish meal reenacting the Passover. This is something that Jesus and Christians reframed in different ways. And one of the things that is reframed in this meal is the bread and then the wine. And Jesus makes this statement, which I thought was so fascinating. I tell you the truth, I will not drink wine again until the day I drink it new in the kingdom of God. One of the things that we seem to know about Jesus and his disciples is that they enjoyed a good drink. In fact, if you'll go back to the text about the wedding at Cana, John, I believe it's chapter 2 is where the story of the wedding at Cana is, where Jesus turns water into wine. Jesus and his disciples are one of the primary reasons as to why they ran out of wine. Read the story closely. Jesus enjoyed drinking. Disciples, seemingly, enjoyed drinking. And yet, Jesus hits pause on that because there is something greater to him than that. and that is enjoying it with friends and with his company of brothers. As I'm reading this, I'm not so much thinking that it is needful to me to stop drinking or enjoying life. What is important to me, what stood out to me, at least in this little line in Mark chapter 13, was, oh, wait, this is Mark chapter 14, isn't it? Yeah, it's Mark chapter 14, even though this is Mark chapter 13. What stood out to me in this is that Jesus shows us the power and the importance, or shows me at least, the power and the importance of community, of how much they mean to him, of how important that meal, that sharing of the moments, of the joy of each other is important to him, that he's willing to say, I know it's going to be a while until we're together again. I'm going to pass on something that I really enjoy until I can enjoy it fully with you. It made me think, who are those people in my life? And do they know? Do they know that they are so important to me that I would give up things that are extremely joyful to me in order to show them and prove to them how much they mean to me? That I'll say, you know what, I'm not going to eat chicken and dumplings. I'm not going to have a good beer. I'm not going to drink a margarita with salt. I'm not going to enjoy this TV show or this game until you and I are able to enjoy this thing together that we love. One of the most powerful symbols, I think, that comes out of the Last Supper isn't just the bread and the wine, it's the relationships. Jesus, and Luke really kind of focuses on this. Jesus was all about meals, eating joyfully with all different kinds of people. He loved to eat and to share. And this is a reminder to me that we should love eating and sharing as well. And we should understand that the power in that eating and sharing with each other, with those we love, isn't just a human thing, but Jesus seems to indicate that it is a spiritual thing as well. It is a godly thing. One more thing I noticed in the text, and this one stood out to me because it's a line that I heard a lot growing up after communion. They sang a hymn and they went out to the Mount of Olives. And after communion, growing up, after we participated in the Lord's Supper in church, which we didn't do a lot because we didn't, my understanding is, want it to become routine, want it to become normalized. I can't think of anything else that would be better for us to have become normalized than communion. But that's neither here nor there. After we would take communion, they would sing a hymn. Well, they would close this first and then sing a hymn, and then everyone would dismiss and leave. The older that I get, the more powerful it is to me, this idea and this line of singing. The songs that we used to sing after that hymn growing up, after communion growing up, I can still remember. I can still sing those things, and they are still tied to communion in my mind. There are other songs that are tied to different seasons of my life, different people in my life. Whenever I hear that song, it immediately takes me back to a place. It immediately takes me back to a person. It immediately takes me back to a feeling. One of the things that I learned over the years about Judaism, about the Hebrew text, is that there is so much song in there. Psalms is a song. Solomon, a poem, is a song. Passover included lots and lots of music. This entire Last Supper that Jesus participates in here in this text in Mark chapter 14, not 13, would have included a ton of singing and music. They had a soundtrack that went along with life and went along with their faith. And both of those things reinforced each other. Music is powerful. In fact, string theorists tell us that the basic building blocks of matter, of the world, of everything around us are strings, and that these strings vibrate, that literally all creation sings. All of creation vibrates in tune. So they sing a hymn and then go out to the Mount of Olives. I don't sing as much as I used to. Music is still very much a part of my life, but music is not as much a part of my life oftentimes now in a devotional way as maybe it used to be. And I'm actually trying now, as I get older and older, to fix that, to utilize music to take me to places. And one of the places in which I primarily want music to take me to is to a place of hope and healing of my faith, of connection with God and of the world and people around me. So for me, this passage is also a reminder of the need for me to solidify something of a soundtrack for my life, for my faith, for my journey, and then to utilize that to help me sing and dance in my faith with Jesus and with God. Well, that's all the time that we have for today. Again, if you'd like to join us for the study, you can download the study guide right there at that website, go.christstable.today/journey. But until tomorrow, when we continue on, happy